The entrance of a home carries a quiet spiritual importance that many people overlook. It is the place where every journey begins and where every return finds rest. When a Bible is left open on a psalm near the front door, the home begins to communicate a powerful message without speaking a single word. It declares that the household is anchored in faith and guided by divine wisdom. Every person who walks through that doorway encounters the presence of sacred words that remind the heart of protection, provision, and peace. The entrance becomes more than wood and walls. It becomes a spiritual threshold where belief stands watch. When family members step out to face the demands of the day, the psalm is there to remind them that they do not walk alone. When they return carrying burdens, the same scripture quietly welcomes them back into a place of hope. Over time, the consistent presence of those words shapes the atmosphere of the home. Thoughts become calmer, conversations become more thoughtful, and the environment begins to reflect a sense of divine covering that surrounds the household. Sacred words placed in visible spaces influence the mind in ways that are often deeper than people realize. Human attention is constantly drawn toward whatever appears repeatedly in the environment. When a psalm is placed near the entrance, the eyes naturally encounter it again and again throughout the day. Those brief moments of reading or reflection begin to plant seeds of faith in the mind. A psalm often speaks about trust in divine care, the restoration of strength, and the promise that those who rely on faith will not be abandoned. As those messages settle into the thoughts of the household, they slowly begin to shape the emotional atmosphere within the home. Worry begins to lose its power because the mind is continually reminded that there is guidance greater than any temporary difficulty. The entrance of the house becomes a point where hope is renewed each time someone passes through it. Guests who arrive may notice the open scripture and feel a sense of calm that fills the environment. The home quietly becomes a place where faith is visible, where sacred truth is honored, and where the words of the psalm continue to influence the mindset of everyone who enters or leaves. The environment of a home quietly shapes the thoughts, emotions, and expectations of everyone who lives within it. Many people focus only on physical decoration, yet the spiritual atmosphere of a house can influence daily life even more deeply. When a Bible is intentionally left open on a psalm near the front door, it becomes a constant reminder that faith is meant to guide every step. The entrance of a home is where people pause before leaving and where they first return after facing the challenges of the outside world. By placing sacred scripture there, the household establishes a rhythm of reflection. Each glance toward the psalm gently shifts the mind away from worry and toward trust. The words of scripture carry messages of provision, guidance, and protection that quietly strengthen the heart. Over time, this visible reminder begins to shape how family members approach their day. Instead of stepping outside with fear or uncertainty, they leave the home with a sense of confidence that they are supported by divine wisdom. The doorway becomes more than an exit. It becomes a place where faith prepares the mind for whatever lies ahead. Faith grows stronger when it becomes part of the daily environment rather than remaining an occasional practice. The open psalm near the front door helps create a living connection between belief and everyday life. Family members see the scripture as they move through their routines, and the words slowly become familiar to the heart. Even a brief moment of reading can renew courage and clarity. A psalm often speaks of trust in times of uncertainty and reminds believers that divine care is always present. When these words are encountered regularly, they begin to shape the mindset of the household. Instead of allowing outside pressures to dominate their thoughts, the family becomes anchored in a message of hope. The environment begins to support a healthier emotional state because faith-filled words are constantly within sight. This practice encourages conversations centered on gratitude and trust rather than fear. The doorway then becomes a quiet place of alignment where the household reconnects with its spiritual foundation each time someone enters or leaves. In this way, the environment itself becomes a partner in nurturing faith and strengthening the mindset of the home. A psalm is more than poetry written on an ancient page. It carries the rhythm of faith, the voice of trust, and the reminder that divine provision has always followed those who rely on a higher source of guidance. When a Bible is left open to a psalm near the front door, those words become a daily declaration over the household. Every entrance and every exit becomes an encounter with a promise that speaks about protection, stability, and provision. The beauty of a psalm is that it does not deny the existence of challenges. Instead, it reminds the heart that no challenge is greater than the power that sustains life. As family members pass the doorway, their eyes may rest on a line that speaks of refuge or strength. That brief moment of reading begins to settle into the mind like a seed planted in fertile soil. The words gradually become familiar, and their message starts to shape the expectations of the household. Instead of seeing the future through the lens of uncertainty, the family begins to believe that guidance and provision are already in motion. The psalm becomes a voice within the home that constantly whispers reassurance, reminding everyone who enters that the household stands under a promise of care and support. Over time, the repeated presence of that psalm creates a spiritual rhythm within the environment of the home. Sacred words have a way of influencing the atmosphere because they invite reflection and quiet confidence. Each time the door opens, the scripture stands as a reminder that every journey begins with faith and every return carries the possibility of renewal. The psalm becomes a declaration that the household is aligned with gratitude and trust rather than fear. Visitors who enter may notice the open Bible and sense that the home values something deeper than material comfort. Family members who read the passage repeatedly may begin to memorize its lines without even trying. Those words then travel with them throughout the day, echoing in their thoughts during moments of pressure or uncertainty. The psalm begins to shape conversations, attitudes, and decisions. It gently reminds the household that provision often arrives through patience, wisdom, and faith-filled action. In this way, the open scripture near the doorway becomes a quiet declaration that the home is positioned to receive restoration, opportunity, and the steady flow of blessings that accompany a life grounded in trust. Words carry influence far beyond the moment they are spoken or read. Sacred scripture holds a unique kind of power because it shapes both belief and expectation. When a Bible is left open on a psalm near the front door, the visible presence of those words becomes a quiet declaration over the household. Each time someone walks past the entrance, their eyes may briefly rest on the lines of the psalm, and even that short moment can awaken a thought of faith. The mind absorbs what it repeatedly encounters, and over time, those sacred words begin to shape the inner dialogue of the family. Instead of allowing fear or uncertainty to dominate their thinking, the household becomes accustomed to seeing promises of protection, provision, and guidance. The psalm becomes a reminder that the home is not defined by temporary circumstances, but by the faith that fills its atmosphere. Guests who enter may feel a sense of calm simply because the environment communicates reverence and trust. The doorway becomes a place where belief stands visible, quietly reminding everyone who crosses that threshold that the home is grounded in spiritual truth. The presence of scripture also encourages spoken faith within the household. When family members regularly see a psalm near the entrance, they may begin to read it aloud or reflect on its meaning as they prepare to leave for the day. Spoken words have the ability to reinforce belief because they move from thought into expression. A psalm often carries language of gratitude, confidence, and trust in divine provision. When those words are spoken, they help shift the mindset of the household toward hope and expectation. Instead of beginning the day with worry about challenges, the family starts with a reminder that guidance and opportunity can appear in unexpected ways. Over time, this habit begins to shape conversations within the home. Encouraging words replace negative ones, and the atmosphere becomes lighter and more peaceful. The entrance of the house then serves as a place where faith is not only displayed, but also expressed. The open psalm quietly invites the family to align their thoughts and their words with the message of trust that flows through the scripture, allowing the home to remain filled with a spirit of gratitude and confidence. The front door of a home represents more than a physical entrance. It is the point where the outside world meets the private space of a family's life. Every opportunity, every conversation, and every new season symbolically passes through that doorway. When a Bible is left open on a psalm near the front door, the entrance begins to take on deeper meaning. It becomes a place where the household quietly dedicates its coming and going to faith. The psalm acts like a spiritual welcome that greets every person who enters and a reminder that accompanies every person who leaves. Instead of allowing the outside world to define the atmosphere of the home, the family chooses to establish a foundation of trust and hope right at the entrance. Each time the door opens, the visible scripture declares that this house recognizes a higher source of guidance and provision. Over time, This simple practice changes how the family views their doorway. It is no longer just an exit to daily responsibilities. It becomes a symbolic gate through which blessings, peace, and opportunity are invited to enter the household. Creating a doorway of blessing begins with intention. When the psalm is placed near the entrance, it quietly encourages the family to pause, even if only for a moment, before stepping out or returning home. That pause creates space for reflection and gratitude. A psalm often speaks about trust, refuge, and the assurance that those who rely on faith will be sustained through every season. As family members read those words again and again, they begin to carry that message with them throughout the day. The doorway becomes a place where worry is set aside and hope is renewed. Guests who enter the home may sense the calm atmosphere created by the visible presence of sacred words. The home gradually becomes known as a place of peace where faith has a visible role in daily life. Over time, the repeated reminder of the psalm encourages the family to live with greater expectation and gratitude. The entrance stands as a quiet declaration that the household chooses to welcome positivity, wisdom, and restoration into their lives each time the door opens. Every household develops patterns of thinking that shape the direction of its future. Some patterns grow from worry about what might go wrong, while others grow from gratitude for what is already present. When a Bible is left open on a psalm near the front door, it quietly invites the family to adopt a rhythm of faith and thankfulness. Each time someone passes the entrance, the words of the psalm remind them that life is not only about daily effort, but also about trusting the guidance that surrounds their journey. This constant reminder encourages the household to slow down for a moment and recognize the blessings that already exist within their lives. Gratitude has a way of shifting the entire atmosphere of a home. When family members begin to focus on what is good rather than what is missing, conversations become more encouraging and relationships become stronger. The psalm near the doorway becomes a visible symbol that the family chooses to welcome hope and appreciation into their daily routine. Over time, this practice begins to influence how each member approaches their responsibilities, making them more attentive to opportunities and more confident about the future. As the mindset of the household changes, a sense of expectancy begins to grow. Expectancy is the quiet belief that positive outcomes can emerge even in uncertain moments. The psalm placed near the entrance acts as a daily message that the family is supported by wisdom greater than their own understanding. When people leave the house carrying this thought, they approach the world with a different attitude. Instead of assuming that doors will remain closed, they become open to the possibility that new paths may appear. Faith and gratitude work together to create a balanced outlook that strengthens resilience during difficult times. When family members return home, the same scripture reminds them to reflect on the day with appreciation rather than frustration. The doorway becomes a point of renewal where faith is restored again and again. In this way, the simple presence of a psalm near the entrance helps align the household with a spirit of trust, patience, and hope, allowing the home to remain a place where belief in better days continues to grow. Many families experience seasons when it feels as though progress has slowed and opportunities have become distant. During those moments, the atmosphere of the home can quietly fill with discouragement or uncertainty. Yet one of the most powerful ways to change a difficult pattern is to begin shifting the focus of the mind and the spirit. Leaving a Bible open on a psalm near the front door becomes a gentle but consistent reminder that the household does not have to remain trapped in cycles of lack or disappointment. The entrance of the home becomes a place where faith interrupts negative thinking. Each time a family member passes the doorway, the sacred words invite them to remember that seasons can change and that restoration is always possible. A psalm often speaks of trust in times when circumstances appear uncertain, reminding the heart that divine guidance is never absent. When those words are seen repeatedly, they begin to challenge the mindset that expects loss or limitation. Gradually, the home develops a new atmosphere where hope replaces discouragement and patience replaces frustration. The doorway becomes a quiet declaration that the family believes a new chapter can begin. Breaking cycles of limitation requires both awareness and discipline. The presence of the open psalm near the entrance encourages the household to practice spiritual focus every day. Instead of allowing negative experiences from the outside world to dominate their thoughts, family members are reminded to return their attention to the message of trust and perseverance found in the scripture. Even a brief moment of reflection can renew strength and clarity. Over time, these small moments of focus accumulate and begin to reshape the outlook of the entire household. Conversations shift toward encouragement rather than complaint, and decisions begin to reflect greater confidence and wisdom. The psalm stands as a witness that the family chooses faith over fear. When visitors enter the home, they may notice the open Bible and sense that the household values something deeper than temporary circumstances. In this way, the doorway becomes more than a physical passage. It becomes a place where the cycle of doubt is replaced with the steady rhythm of belief that better opportunities and renewed blessings are on their way. Restoration often begins quietly, long before visible change appears. It starts in the heart of a household when people decide to welcome hope instead of holding on to discouragement. Leaving a Bible open on a psalm near the front door becomes a simple but meaningful way to express that decision. The entrance of a home is a place where every departure and every return takes place, and when sacred words remain present there, they remind the household that each day carries the possibility of renewal. A psalm often speaks about divine care, steady guidance, and the assurance that those who trust will not be forgotten. As family members walk past the doorway, those words quietly strengthen their confidence that life can move toward restoration. The scripture becomes more than a decoration. It becomes a daily invitation to believe that opportunities can return and that peace can grow again within the home. Over time, the consistent presence of those words begins to influence how the family views their future. Instead of expecting difficulty to continue forever, they begin to recognize that new seasons are always possible. Welcoming restoration also means remaining open to the opportunities that appear along the journey. The open psalm near the entrance encourages the household to maintain an attitude of faith and readiness. Each time someone leaves the home, they carry with them the reminder that wisdom and guidance are available for every decision they face. When they return, the same scripture greets them with a message of patience and trust. This rhythm of departure and return gradually builds a sense of confidence within the household. Family members begin to see challenges as temporary moments rather than permanent barriers. The doorway becomes a symbolic gate through which hope enters and discouragement fades away. Visitors who step inside may feel the calm and welcoming atmosphere created by the visible presence of Scripture. In this way, the open psalm becomes a quiet declaration that the household believes in renewal, expects positive change, and stands ready to receive the opportunities and blessings that each new season may bring.